According to several reports, including CNN, Kanye West has apparently reached billionaire status. Now, being a millionaire is one thing, but achieving that kind of wealth that places you in the billions is quite another. Upon hearing these reports, it's difficult to measure its scope compared to other wealthy people in world history. So today, I wanted us to be able to see the comparison between today's billionaires and the wealthiest African king in history. What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and supporting this content. If you'd like access to full courses and sources, or you simply want to show your support, you may do so by clicking the Patreon link in the description box below. I think we all know what African king we'll be discussing and comparing. His name is Mansa Musa of the Mali Empire. He reigned in the 14th century during the golden age of Mali. Now, to be honest, just because we're able to somewhat measure his wealth and crown him the wealthiest in human history doesn't really mean he was indeed the wealthiest in all of African history. I really wouldn't be surprised if we found out about another African king who had just as much or more. But I digress. There has been talk about billionaires lately, people like Jeff Bezos and even Tyler Perry. To achieve something like this is really impressive. According to the Forbes list, the top 5 billionaires are listed as Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bernard Arnault, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg. To give you an idea of what we're speaking about exactly, their net worth ranges from 112 billion to 188 billion. A lot of us can't even fathom that kind of wealth. So, with billionaires being a somewhat popular topic due to the influx of new ones like Tyler Perry and Kanye and others, I wondered to myself, how do these individuals compare to the wealthiest African king in recorded history? I honestly didn't even know, as I never really paid attention to what some articles had to say about Mansa Musa's supposed net worth. I've always heard that many consider him to be the wealthiest person in human history, but I never actually saw a number value. Historians assert that his net worth is something nearly impossible to pin down, and I can agree. But reputable sources like the BBC seem to settle on the number 400 billion. I was even surprised by that evaluation because I never actually took the time to look, as mentioned before. So let's put this all in perspective. The wealthiest man today, Jeff Bezos, is estimated at 188 billion, and Mansa Musa of Mali is estimated at 400 billion, more or less. So why is this even worthy of note? Well, first, it speaks to the vast wealth that Africa always had. Africa is a land of wealth and resources, and like I've said in previous videos, that's one of the reasons it became a target. Most powerful countries want a piece of the continent, because if you control portions of the continent, you're more likely to control the world. But a more important point, in my opinion, is this. Mansa Musa represents a time in which Africans themselves controlled the wealth and the resources. He owned all the gold mines and controlled the salt trade in his given region. Perhaps to the surprise of many, salt was a very valuable item in medieval Africa because it preserved meat amongst other things. Without salt, armies wouldn't really be able to carry their rations for long distances, and even explorers would have difficulty sailing to new regions. Salt was a pretty big deal. That's one of the reasons why the phrase "worth your weight in salt" became a thing. Anyway, the ownership of resources and lands by African kings gave them vast amounts of wealth, and this wealth has lasted through the ages, as we can see with Mansa Musa's net worth estimation. Honestly, we all know the story. Upon his arrival in Egypt, Mansa Musa spent so much gold that it apparently devalued it for a decade. Ironically, he spent so much that he temporarily went broke. He literally had to borrow money from the Egyptians just to make his journey back in safety and comfort, and they certainly lended it to him because they knew he was obviously good for it. The reason why we can even somewhat estimate Mansa Musa's wealth is because of his journey to Mecca. So why did he do this and spend so much? The simplest answer to that question is power projection. Mansa Musa was well aware of the world around him. He heard about how the Almoravids achieved glory by extending their empire into southern Europe. He also knew about how the Mamluks conquered Egypt, wresting power away from the Ayyubids. After the fall of Baghdad to the Mongols, Egypt became the center of the Muslim world for the most part. Scholar Michael Gomez theorizes that Mansa Musa wanted to bring Mali on the international stage. Whether in response to these developments or as an expression of aspirations largely internal, Mali attempted to connect with the outside world, to touch that world directly without the mediation of Saharan middlemen. Mali was itself in an expansive, transcontinental frame of mind. Mansa Musa got exactly what he wanted and more. Mali was certainly in the conversation now, so much so that he made Timbuktu world famous. There is no doubt that the world knows about this legendary city because of Mansa Musa, but all of his wealth that has not been matched even in modern times, came as a blessing and perhaps a curse. Because even though Mansa Musa put West Africa as a whole in the international conversation, he inadvertently made Africa a target. If one king in West Africa can amount so much wealth, what more is there to gain from this enormous continent? Ultimately, Mali wanted to be seen as the superpower that it was, and the collection of wealth from his treasury made a huge impact on the Muslim and Christian world, an impact that can still be felt today in modern internet articles. So what's the bigger point? Like mentioned before, the primary reason Mansa Musa was so wealthy was because Mali had conquered and controlled the resources of their native region. Africa has some of the wealthiest resources on the planet, and whoever controls it tends to have access to vast amounts of power. I think the lesson we can learn from Mansa Musa as Afro-descended people is that we have to be competitive. Mansa Musa wanted to project his power and let the world know that we are here. And he did that. If we can own and control what we produce or what we create like Mansa Musa of Mali, we can have access to the capital that has slipped our grasp for far too long. The advancement of our communal economy is the seat of our power. Let's not make the old mistake of allowing the world to use our social, political, or cultural value for profit and power. I think if we're able to achieve this, we'll be able to thrive and not just survive. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help in its continued production, consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.